hi, Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby.
And we are back for another week.
Back to House of Flame and Shadow. We've covered our general thoughts. We've talked about part 1. And now we're going to take it away with part 2. So spoilers incoming. Listen to the other episodes first.
All right. So now on to part 2.
Woohoo.
Woohoo. Bryce had opened a portal and she said to home. But we find out that she actually ends up at the Autumn King's palace. I did not see that coming. Did you see that coming?
No, I didn't expect that. And I definitely didn't expect that it was intentional either.
Me neither. I was like, what in the world? I liked when they talked about the space traveling, and she like flew horizontal.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. Just getting like a little insight to what that feels like.
Yeah. I was definitely surprised though. And especially when the Autumn King, like immediately shackles her and like traps her in the house and is trying to keep her from any news or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really didn't anticipate that was her manipulating him.
Me neither. And I thought it was really interesting that the Autumn King had sent all of his people away, had shut down everything, had like shut down all of the communication. And I wondered if he had done that before Bryce even got there.
Why?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, why would he have done that? Because it seems like it would have been a lot of work to do in like the short amount of time that Bryce was like blacked out or passed out or whatever.
Oh, I felt like that's where it happened, that she showed up and he was like, all right, everybody out.
Yeah. I just felt like it was like really, it would have had to be really fast because he like disrupted all communication from the outside world. But we find out that his place is warded. I didn't know that before. That was cool.
Yeah, I think we had gotten just like some little snips maybe probably in HOSAB from Rune about the controlling nature of their house, of the Autumn King's house, and him being trapped and stuff like that. And so I didn't necessarily know it, but I also didn't feel surprised that it was like that, just because we already knew the Autumn King was such a dick.
Yeah. Something that did kind of shock me was that in some parts of him talking to Bryce, it did seem like he was regretful. And it did seem like he wanted to help. Yeah. And it felt like he kept going back and forth.
I agree. I did notice there was a lot of back and forth for me in that, because as much as he didn't always accept her when she was younger, I think as she came into his power, and maybe that's a crappy reason to start to accept her, but it seemed like at that point he was like, okay, well, you've got this now, so let's figure out what's going on, because he clearly doesn't totally side with the Asteri. And so in some ways they have mutual interests. And I was surprised that they weren't leveraged more.
Me too. And I liked that Bryce played kind of that game with him on like, I'm only going to give you a little bit of what you want, and then I'm going to try to get what I want. And so she did kind of leverage that a little bit, but not to the extent that I thought she was going to. Because I still feel like we have so many questions about the Autumn King, and now we're not going to get any answer.
Yeah. And I mean, he talked a little bit about how he was studying light and all that stuff, but I didn't feel like that was enough to really understand what he was doing, because he clearly thought it was very important.
Yes, very, very. And he talks about how kind of glad he was that Bryce had the full power and Rune had only a sliver of power. And we know that him and Morven had basically gone to the Asteri and been like, we disown both of them. Like, we're not going to be a part of this at all. But I don't know. I still just feel like we have so much to learn about, I guess, more aspects of what the light can do, because I don't think we saw it all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. That prism that he had that kind of like reflected out the light. When Bryce used it, she has darkness in her light now, which kind of leads on the theory that we were talking about, that maybe she was either being possessed by Thea or something dark was happening to her magic.
Yeah.
And so it was turning her character into more of a dark character.
Yeah, maybe. I also wondered, they talked about, and I think it was even the Autumn King said that the knife and the sword are made and unmade.
Yes.
And so it more made me wonder if her light was like kind of the same thing, right? Because she's getting some of it from the horn, some of it from Thea, getting kind of some different places. So it made me wonder if it was more like that, where there's a balance of literally the darkness of her magic. So that was kind of interesting.
It was interesting, and I wonder if that's going to come into play more in the future Crescent City books, like that darkness, because, I mean, her power is still only 2/3 complete at this point. And
is she not whole at the end?
At the end.
Oh,
I mean, like
at this point right now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yep.
Yeah, she's still only has the, like, her starlight and then the part from the prison. So
what did you think of her powering herself up by using the prisms?
I freaking loved it.
I
loved
so
that.
Cool. When she just literally ties, after she, basically fools the Autumn King and ties him up, locks him in the closet, powers up herself. That was badass. That part was cool.
Loved that part. And when she was like tying up the Autumn King and like making sure he could get out and whatever, I was like, wait, no, you still have so much you have to learn. Like, now is not the time to leave. Like, you're just starting to get the information from him.
Yeah.
I wish she would have held out a little longer.
Yeah. I think all she was looking for, though, was to know what he knew about the knife and sword prophecy and if there were any pieces of that she could take that were going to be useful right now. Because assuming this mating bond is all real and everything, her priority was also to get to hunt, right? Yes. And so she didn't want to delay too much of hanging out at the Autumn King's house when she knows something bad is happening to Hunt, and she's wants to be able to save him from the torture that he's going through.
Yeah, that's very true.
So in that way, because that's the time when she actually talks through her rationalization of why she went to the Autumn King and not to Hunt. And so that's why I see that maybe it was going on in her own mind, and we just weren't privy to see that because we weren't privy to the manipulation that she was working on.
Yeah. And even if that's the case, I still do not accept that as the reason for her not to go to Hunt first. If they are true mates, like still is just like baffling to me.
Yeah.
But I do love that when she learns the information, she locks up the Autumn King, and then she does teleport to home. And she gets to hunt, finally. What did you think about their reunion?
It felt like she didn't have that much of a reaction. No. And I know they were both trying to be stone cold serious because they're in front of the Ocean Queen, and it wasn't the moment to have that reunite moment, but...
That's your mate. You've been gone in another world.
Can't even run up and give him a kiss. I mean, exactly. I was underwhelmed with that.
Me too.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you think, I guess?
That's exactly what I thought too. From both of them, I was just kind of like, where's the love? Where is the, oh my God, I missed you. Oh my gosh, you don't get any of that.
I get a little, just not as much as I would have expected.
Not at all. I
thought it was going to be there's nothing that could stop me from running to you right now kind of moment.
Well, Hunt even says that in HOSAB. There is nothing to keep me, like, not even worlds can separate us.
Yeah. Sure felt like the worlds were separating you in this book.
It absolutely did. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then she proclaims herself as Queen Dannon of the Valbarn Fae.
Yeah.
What? The Autumn King is still alive.
Yeah, but he was tucked away, and so I guess she's assuming there's no one that's going to challenge her on that because he's MIA, and who else was going to fight against that?
I guess.
But it was definitely a fake it till you make it moment.
Yes, definitely. It definitely
And I can't believe that the Ocean Queen even bought that at all.
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't super excited to help them out anyway, but I don't know. It was just It was a little odd to me that she like comes in, because she did that in HOSAB where she was like, Bryce Dannon, and it's like, okay, now you have to live with these consequences, and she's like, no, but I don't wanna.
Right.
And now she's like, I'm Bryce Dannon, queen of the Felbarn Bay, and
briefly though, she really only briefly keeps that, because then as soon as she actually, or they kill the kings together, then she goes back, reverts to her regular name.
Exactly. So. Yeah, I was like, what? I'm like, you're literally just using that to like get whatever you want. So again, Bryce the master manipulator. But then the Ocean Queen does decide that she's going to help them transport them to the next location, and they end up in a Valen. Yeah,
I feel like we need to back up though, because at this point, she's now met up with the rest of the crew, and I think we need to talk about how the rest of the crew got there.
Yeah.
Because
so do we want to?
Okay. Maybe let's back up then to the beginning of part 2 again, and maybe let's talk about Hunt and friends and the escape.
Right, because we ended off the last part with Lydia's like grand plan.
She's scheming. Yep, she's been testing the Sprite Queen to see if she can trust her to help with this whole scheme to to get them
spine.
Right.
Yeah.
And as this is all happening, as she's scheming, Hunt gives up some of his lightning to the Asteri, because otherwise they were going to kill one of his friends, right?
Who did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Baxian.
I thought it was going to be Ruin.
Oh.
Interesting.
I couldn't believe it wasn't either. Let me just put this out here now. I'm honestly disappointed that nobody died in this book.
So morbid.
I know, but it made it feel way less exciting. I was never worried for the characters being in mortal danger. And so it makes me, I don't know. Or it didn't feel as exciting.
If they died, they're going to come back to life.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I felt like that was the entire book.
Yeah.
Literally from back to front to back.
Yeah. So whatever. Anyways.
Oh my gosh.
So there is that.
Yes.
But
so then Lydia's plan.
Yeah.
So it was basically right after Rune had had his hand bitten off that they show up who's they? It was Pollux and the Hawk and the Harpy show up, and they're like, oh, that's funny. Like, you thought you were just gonna get out? And Lydia comes in and she's like, oh, well, we need to take them. Now they're going to die. And I'll take them. And we need to take the elevator.
And the Hawk comes with.
As she shoots him between the eyes. Bang, bang.
Oh, yeah.
I freaking loved that scene because it was right at the end of a chapter. And I was like, oh, she's doing it right now. I did not expect it to happen right then.
Yeah. Well, and it's really that drew a line in the sand for Lydia of being like, okay, well, now that you've shot the Hawk, all bets are off. You are not even a little bit playing this card of, pretending to be this spy with the Asteri.
Yep.
You're out with the rebels now. You are gone.
Absolutely. And so fucking badass.
The scene when she's shifted into deer form and she's running from the Dreadwolves, for me, that was one of the most intense scenes of this entire book.
Too.
I really thought she might die in that escape plan.
I mean, she did die.
I mean, yeah, that's true, I guess. But you know what I mean? I thought she was going to stay dead.
Me too. When she died, I was like, oh my, I was like, do I look ahead and see if I see her name? I was like, don't do it. Don't
ruin it for yourself.
Because I was so sad. I was like, my favorite character in all of Crescent City is just gonna die. I was like, what? And that would be the character to kill off.
I know. That was one of the ones that I thought might have been able to get away with because SJM said, oh, you should be nervous for Hunt and Rune for this book. And the torture was sad at the beginning, I guess. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm kind of like,
I don't know. Really that sad.
I thought something worse was gonna happen.
Me too.
I thought one of them was gonna die for sure. One of the two, I thought had to die. I couldn't believe everybody just kept getting resurrected.
I know. Yep, I felt the exact same way. And so she has this huge plan. The spine is now gone, which means all of their allies are gone, and they don't have Ophion anymore. Mm-hmm. because that's basically what these little like the camps at the spine was. And I loved when they were driving. I felt like these scenes were so intense just to get up to the cliff and then the road ends. And I was like, oh my God, like what is going to happen next?
And they're like, my wings aren't strong enough. I can't fly yet.
Because she had given them the first light shots to grow their wings back.
Yeah, but they grew them in like a day. So they were not really ready to go. But Rune is just falling apart, just hanging there, dead weight.
Oh my God. And then when they're in the car and Deck comes on the radio and Rune was like, I love you. Like, if we don't make this through this. And he was like, no. Like, tell me in an hour. I was like, like, I started tearing up at that point. That was just so sad that baby Rune was getting all sad and emotional.
Getting all sappy with his friends. Yeah.
His family.
His family. Yeah.
Oh, so precious.
Yeah.
So precious.
But then I'd say the biggest surprise of all of Crescent City 3, Lydia has twin boys.
What? I did not see that coming.
That came way out of the blue for me. And I actually kind of liked it.
I liked it too.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting twist and gave her so much different of motivations.
Yes.
Now that they're kind of brought back into the story. And it gives you some background for how she ended up helping Ophelion in the first place, because we know Baxian came in because he was mated to Danica, but we still hadn't really figured out why Lydia changed her feelings. And I don't know, having some babies you want to protect is a pretty solid reason.
Absolutely. I felt like it just gave her like a little bit more of a character development than I thought so. But she even says to Rune at one point, she's like, oh, now you're going to trust me now that you know I'm a mother? Yeah. And I was like, oh, damn, that's kind of true. Like, it does kind of change things, though. Like, gosh. And then we learned that the twins are Bran and Actaeon Ace.
Yeah.
I loved that. And they described Actaeon as a bit of a genius. He devised a helmet and fins to keep up with the other like fish people because they're living on the
Ocean Queen's floating city, whatever.
It wasn't an Omega boat, was it?
No. I don't remember what they called it, but yeah, it was one of her city things. City subs.
That is not run on first light.
Right. It's run off the Ocean Queen's magic.
And so we've got Ace, who is like the really smart one. And then Bran is a what you see is what you get. He's a natural athlete, stereotypical jock. And she has hair like Bran's and eyes like Ace. So I loved that there was like little parts of both of them in her. That was just so precious. I loved it.
I did wish that we had gotten more from her explanation of where the twins came from, because we only hear a little bit about that it came from, you know, the little ceremony of the deer shifters and whatever, and that it was this unknown guy and that didn't really matter, and that's kind of all we get from that. And that part of it I'd say was a little bit underwhelming. I mean, it was cool that it obviously wasn't the Hawks, but other than that, was kind of like, that part of it, I was like,
Right. It makes me question, why were there these ceremonies? What was happening? Why does this seem an awful lot like the Spring Court?
I was going to say the same thing. It reminded me of Calamai.
Yes, exactly. Because that's exactly the way she described it. Is like, you have these mating ceremonies.
Like a fertility mating thing. Yeah.
And then
like physically mating, not like mate.
Yes. Actual mating.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't know that much about why it's doing that, or I don't know. Yeah.
She just says that like we don't necessarily worship the same gods that you do. I think our gods predate this world, but I've never confirmed it. So I just kind of assumed that was supposed to be something left over from the Throne of Glass world before the deer shifters came into Midgard, I guess.
Yeah, it made me.
So maybe it was just supposed to be a little bit for Throne of Glass, and maybe that was it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then we also learn that Bran comes from her long ancestor, Brannon, who is also Aelin's lineage. And so I loved that. So we do know that she is now a part of Aelin's lineage.
Yeah, that part is confirmed too.
But what do you think? So I've seen some theories on TikTok about how far of a descendant that she is. Because she talks about this ring that she wears all the time. Did you catch that?
You got to remember, it's been a lot of years since I read Throne of Glass, and I've read a lot of books in between. So I don't, if there's honestly anything from there, I probably don't remember unless it was really high level plot points.
Do you remember when Aelin and Rowan have their little marriage ceremony and they're in the cave looking for gold?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I'll be honest, I don't.
It's totally fine. They're looking for
Which
gold.
Which book is it in? Is it like towards the end?
I think it was Kingdom of Ash.
Okay.
I think so. So sorry, Kingdom of Ash spoilers, but
I think
I hope so. I hope it's just
you're good.
So they're looking for gold and treasure so they can sell, so they can have money to help with their efforts, because they don't have any money. They don't know how to like raise an army or anything, because now they don't have what's his name's money, the one that kept her after Endovier. And so she finds these 2 rings, and they were gold rings, and one has a ruby on it, and I think one had an emerald on it. And Rowan's ring was a gold ring with a ruby on it, and that is who.
That's what she wears too.
That's what Lydia's wearing. A gold ring with a ruby on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I honestly definitely did not catch that. It's just been too long for me to notice those crossovers too. So that's cool.
So I was like, that's really interesting. Like, so it definitely has to be like either their daughter or granddaughter, or like definitely Rowan and Aelin had some kids. Because you wouldn't just give that to like a sister or something.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was really precious.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
More crossovers with Throne of Glass, but yeah.
Well, okay, so maybe backing up a little bit more to when they first get on the Ocean Queen's little floating city or whatever. I have written down, I thought it was interesting that she noted, once my kingdom was vaster than you can imagine, but the Steri came and entire islands withered into the sea in despair, taking the very heart of this world with it. And she talks again later in that same passage about how they were there with the humans before everybody else arrived.
Yes.
15,000 years ago. And that basically they had a mutually beneficial relationship with the humans, and that they got along well before then. And so knowing that the book that we haven't had yet is House of Many Waters, I'm assuming that maybe we're going to get more into like that backstory.
I hope so. Because I hope it's going to be that kind of story and not just a Therian story.
Yeah. So coming back now where we had left off about kind of showing up in Avalon.
Yep.
What am I pronounced?
No, you just said it right.
That was right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so Bryce shows up, right? So Bryce shows up on the Ocean Queen, and now everybody's there. And the Ocean Queen is basically saying, like, I'll help you. And she's saying, Therian, you have to stay on the ship, but Lydia, you have to leave.
Yeah.
Because we know that, I don't think we know the entire story at this point about why Lydia has
a deal with Ocean Queen. Well, because, you mean, so we find out later in the book?
Yeah, I don't know if it was right now or if it was later that we found out. But
I think it's in there, because now that we know about the twin boys, I think it's kind of clear that she's listening to the Ocean Queen because the Ocean Queen is protecting her sons.
Which I did not expect. I thought it was going to be like a happy reunion, and the Ocean Queen is like, you're not done working for me. I did not say that you could have a break.
Yeah, I was really surprised that was so harsh too.
Me too. And I'm like, she's been helping you for how long? Endangering her life for how freaking long? And now you're going to act like that to my Lydia girl? Like,
I know. That was so sad.
But so now they're off to Avalon, right? And we find out that the Ocean Queen can't go through the mists. Yeah,
that no one really can.
Nobody can.
Yeah, that they deter pretty much everybody, and that I want to say king, that's not the right thing. The leader of the Fae of Avalon.
Yes, Morven.
The one who can control who comes in through the mists.
Which seems weird. Like, why is he able to control the mists?
I guess just because he's the leader? I don't know.
I guess.
Because it passes to Bryce when, after she kills him and she becomes the leader, then all of a sudden she has the control over the mists.
But she has the control over the mists because she takes the power.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know why Morven had control
had it in the first place.
Yeah. I don't know. But we we'll probably never know.
Yeah. Just on a lighthearted note.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing when everybody is like, first actually gets into Evelyn and they're talking about how they don't like it there because the magic is weird, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And Flynn is like talking about how his earth magic doesn't work right. And Bryce says, I always forget you actually have magic. I literally had in my notes, lol, same. I kind of forget that Flynn has any magic because he never does it. Right. So, I just thought that was kind of funny.
I thought it was funny too. And it kind of made me think that maybe SJM just like put that in there and she's
for
like,
us.
Okay, I have to like this might have been a plot hole before, but
you are supposed to be Fae. You do have powers even if no one sees them.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, all right, okay, cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
I thought that was really funny too. And I think she makes another joke about like, I'll keep the jokes behind on why you can't make it work or something like that. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
See, that kind of sassy Bryce, I like.
Right.
The funny, jokey Bryce, I like her.
I know. Sometimes in this book at least, it was the serious situations with other leaders that she's too, I don't know, the way she blows them off in that way is like too much.
Yeah.
But when it's joking with her friends, I think it's funny.
Me too. And so she shows up. Morven it sounded like he was like broadcasted there, that he wasn't actually at the entrance with them. Mm-hmm. And he shows up with Flynn's sister. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. I didn't think she was going to be as big of a part as she ended up playing.
No. Well, I'd say she only plays a medium part. Yeah. And for a short period of time, because she kind of dips off before the end of the book, too. Yeah, that's true, actually. So we can talk more about that part of it in part 3. But for part 2, even I think the big thing is just Therian proposing to her and them actually getting married right then. Like, what the fuck? That felt so unnecessary. And just another moment of like, okay, Therian has defected from the River Queen to the Viper Queen. And now he's defected from the Viper Queen to Bryce, or to the Ocean Queen, and then from the Ocean Queen to Bryce, I guess. And now he's going to marry this Fae. And even Bryce was like, what are you doing? And I guess that brings back to like, so the Ocean Queen had said to Therian, you have to stay on this boat. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to leave. Like, there is a whole mass of people like wanting your head. And he's like, see ya. And he like jumps on the boat. I was like, what are you doing? Getting everybody else in trouble. Yes. And then he marries Sathya. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, you're making the dumbest decisions ever. Just very impulsive. He's a very impulsive character. I do like that Bryce goes, well, good luck with that. Yeah. She's like, I'm not even dealing with that at all. She's like, I'm not going to play no part in this. Oh my gosh. I mean, because otherwise she was going to have to marry the murder twins. One of the murder twins, yeah. Look. Good. Disgusting. And she had made it seem like something had happened. Mm-hmm. Like, when they were like, well, did they do anything to you? And she just kind of like got quiet and didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. And they were like, shit, something happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yuck. Gross. But also on another funny note, Team Caves or Team Archives. You need shirts. Need t-shirts. Maybe I'll make some. Really cute. There we go. Team Caves or Team Archives? Which are you? Team Archives. I was going to say that too. Because Rune Dan and Crown Prince of the Found Power. Yeah, I'll definitely be on that side. Honestly, I'll be in a Rune and Lydia sandwich, man. Oh my eat that shit up. Me too, girl. Me too. Oh my God. With the shadow hand. Do you think he has shadow hands now? No. You mean like Dorian? Yeah. Wouldn't say no. Couldn't ask me twice. Oh man. Oh my gosh. So they split up. Yeah. What I was gonna say, did you notice when they were talking about what's his name? Morven. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't remember what his actual name was. The other Valen. King. That when they were talking about his throne, it stuck out to me that they talked about it being made from a giant pair of antlers from a stag that didn't exist on Midgard, which again felt very Throne of Glass. It does feel very Throne of Glass. And when I think they said something along the lines of like it being like the biggest animal that they've ever seen or something. Right. It just reminds me of the Northern Stag. Yep. Ugh, my heart. I did notice that part. But also,
why does he have such a connection to Throne of Glass?
Well, because they talked about the two Fae being from two different worlds.
Right.
And so we're assuming that all of the Avalon Fae are from the Throne of Glass world, and the Midgard or the
but the
Valbaran
shifters
Fae are from, or isn't that part of the, no?
So the shifters are part of Valbara.
Oh, yeah.
And then Avalon has more of like the night court qualities.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, it doesn't seem like it connects as well as it did in the book. So I don't know. Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked the Team Caves and Tea Archives.
Yeah, that's funny.
So they do end up splitting up and going to basically where Rune found the Star Sword. And then Rune and Lydia, Deck, and Flynn stay in the archives.
So we have half of the team that has just come to the archives now. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they find when they're in there is that all the islands that used to be around Avalon have disappeared, and they're comparing maps of time, and they see, way back in time that there used to be more around there, which
before the asteroid came.
Yeah, which leaves this question of why were they on all these maps, and what happened to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, why did the islands disappear? Why were there these islands? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, because the way that they keep describing Avalon was like this dark place, and the sunrise was the dreariest one I've ever seen, and it's dark and gloomy, and I'm like, that sounds a little bit more like Throne of Glassy in like where it's just like dark kind of, but that's just kind of how I pictured the city. I don't even remember the city that they were in, but I just pictured it as kind of dark.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that I did, but that maybe it was, but again, it was a while ago, so maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah.
So they all kind of start in the archives though, don't they? Before they split off into Team Caves.
Yep.
Because that's one of the first times that we have Hunt and Bryce's intimate scenes, and they start to have their magic meld together, right? That's before they go into the caves, I think.
Yes.
And so as they're getting after it, it seems like they're still having this sort of teleporting while they're in the middle of it, and they talk about being like way up in the sky, like looking down on themselves, and that they felt like they were the very source of all magic and light.
Interesting.
And so I don't know why the fact that they're now like intertwining their magics, that feels corrupt to me. Yes, and I know it probably shouldn't. It probably should be like, oh, so sweet.
They love each
other.
It's
mates and they're sharing powers. But it felt not natural. And I didn't actually like it.
I am right there with you. I was like, it doesn't seem plausible, I guess. Like, they shouldn't be able to like give each other this kind of power. And like, kind of in the first, I think it was in HOSAB, where they teleport into like another room.
Right.
And they said, well, at least we're not ending up in like Morven's office or whatever.
Well,
but, like,
and when they're doing it on the Ocean Queen's sub, that happens too. They like accidentally end up in a different room.
Yeah. And so like, at least you're not ending up in the office, but like, where are you now? Are you traveling worlds? Are you?
That's what it always feels like. So there's a couple times when she describes it as, kind of being surrounded by stars and not in their physical body and all that jazz. And I don't know. There's something weird going on.
Something definitely weird going on. One of the things that we keep seeing that is themed in this book with Morven is his obsession with procreation. And I just wonder, like, why is that so? That's like his only like goal in life, I guess, is to like have everybody procreate and like make more fae and everything. I'm like, why?
And that they're so anti-woman, and like, where did that come from? Was it just from Thea? And it's not entirely just him, because even the Autumn King, way back in the beginning of part 2, when Bryce first shows up, and I don't know, they're like, she's talking with him, and even the Autumn King says, my only interest in you lies in the bloodline you stand to pass on, and Hunt complicates it more than you know.
Yes. Like, what does that mean?
Right. Like, what do you mean more than we know?
Yeah, like
what else is being complicated there?
I know.
That?
Like, is it because he's an angel? Is it because she knows that he's something more? I caught that line too. I was like, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So when they're in the caves, I guess, so they're like walking through these caves, right? And they have these ghouls. They're being guided again by Bryce's starlight, which, as we kind of talked about, is a little corny. And they notice that the caves are full of this like black salt. And I thought it was funny when she initially realizes it and she licks it.
Like, ew. Yeah. I did notice that too. But also all of the imagery on the walls, that was mirroring what was happening in Prythian. I think that also, since we had seen Celine's story at this point, I think that was a really interesting parallel to see, like, I don't know, a similar setup here in Avalon then.
Yeah. Well, then she knew where to go in the caves too.
Yeah, kind of. I know. And I had just written down one of the things that she sees on the cave wall.
Yeah.
Was the river of starlight into which long ago Faye had apparently dragged those Pegasuses and drowned them. And for some reason, that made me think of the spring court and the pond of starlight there too.
Yes.
And so there was a little bit of that I was like, huh.
Why are we having so many references that mimic the spring court?
Yeah, I don't know.
It just seems like very intentional, I guess. Well, and then did you see Sarah J. Maas's most recent Instagram stories?
Oh, there was something. I only saw like reposted things talking about that it was spring court, but I actually haven't seen the original yet.
It was like something along the lines of since it's spring, and she like put a bunch of like spring images up and then like played some songs that were like spring like, and it was like, what are you hinting at, Sarah J. Maas? What are you giving us? Because now I'm starting to think that the next Akhtar book might be held in the spring court with all of the connections that I think are happening now.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because if you see her interviews, she says that she thinks it's obvious who the next book is about, but obviously none of us do.
No.
But I think I guess Bloomsburg has told her that she's like not supposed to say because everybody loves theorizing and stuff, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. God. Yeah, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're in the caves, right? And Bryce has this fantastic idea about drinking the black salt water. And again, a little too convenient. I think that now they get to like, she called it soul falling to hell or whatever they wanted her to see of it. And now she gets to have these conversations with the Princess of Hell.
Yeah. Although I did like Hunt jumping in, except for you think he's going to be like, no, don't do it without me.
Yeah, that I did like. That I liked.
I actually really enjoyed that for their relationship.
I'm glad we got so much information, and I was glad that Hunt was there for it.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of it was even about him.
Exactly. Yeah, because we have Adis, Apollyon, and Thanatos.
Yes.
Yep. Where are the other princes of
Hell? I wrote that down too, man. Only 3 princes of hell will help because the other 4 brothers are currently engaged in other conflicts, helping other worlds.
Like in Prythian? Like Rhysand?
So sold on the Rhys.
So sold. And everything I see that like helps me with that theory, I'm like, that's it.
I don't know, because I don't know if any of it, I mean, I don't think it's thrown a glass at this point, but I also know she's contracted for another series set in this like the same world, right? So I wonder if some of these princes are going to be like off helping there or something. I don't know.
Oh, I love it.
That'd be cool.
I love it. Yeah, we learned so much information from them. We found out Hunt's origin. And I know we kind of expected Thanatos to be involved, but I thought Thanatos was like gonna be his dad.
I thought so too. Well, and especially because he says, "Welcome, son," like Apollyon does. And I do kind of wish he'd been an actual son of hell.
Me too.
And not just this like, oh, we added a little sprinkle of magic into this couple that we have orchestrated to do it. It was a little bit underwhelming.
Well, because doesn't Bryce call him a test tube baby?
Yeah, that's funny. That is really funny.
The fact that Hunt was so upset by all of this information just kind of like reiterated that I want to use different language than I want to use, but that Hunt was kind of a wuss during all of this.
He was being kind of a baby.
He was being kind of a baby.
Well, and especially because at this point he finds out that since he was made by Hell's princes, that the Black Crown shouldn't be able to hold him. But he has internal dialogue being like, well, I'm just not ready to be rid of it yet. Like, I'm not ready to really cross that line. Why? Why do you want to be limited on your power? I don't understand why you went to push that the second that you knew was an option.
Absolutely. Like, do you just want to be like a caged animal?
I didn't feel, and the whole time it didn't really feel like he was fighting for everything in the same way that other people were. He kind of felt like he was just sitting and taking whatever was given to him or whatever others told him to do.
Right. And I understand that like people deal with trauma differently. And like he was hesitant because he had been in the Asteri dungeon for 7 years before. And this time, I mean, it was only 5 days. But I mean, it was still traumatic.
Still bad. Yep.
But I don't know. It just felt like everybody else kind of like picked up and moved on a little bit faster and were able to like see the bigger picture and what needed to be done. And he just seemed so hesitant.
Not everybody. So I wouldn't say that Therian and Ethan picked up. I think they took longer to get there too.
But they just kind of did nothing.
I agree. I think Rune picked up and got there, but I think Lydia helped him get there.
That's true. That's very true, actually.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do think that all of them were kind of spinning their wheels for some pieces here, but Hunt felt slow to take up that information.
Yeah. He absolutely
I didn't necessarily love it. But yeah, I did like that he was at least there to talk with them.
Me too. And I liked the information that we got from the Princes of Hell because it did ultimately help them out. And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And it was another theory, I guess, confirmed too, of ones that we guessed correctly, that the Star Sword wanted to reach the knife and that's why they got pulled towards Midgard instead of Hell.
Yeah.
I thought that was nice to see that confirmed.
I did too. And I actually liked that, that was the way that it played out because then you know that there really is that true connection between Star Sword and Truth Teller. Yeah, I loved that.
And all of the weird feelings that Bryce has been getting of like holding both too the whole time.
Yes, and they just want to be connected.
Unsettling. Yeah, definitely.
Oh my gosh. And so when they kind of run out of the black salt, right? And they come out of this soul falling with the Princes of Hell. And when they show back up in the caves, the Autumn King and Morven are back in the caves with them. And they have 2 other people with them. They have Deck and Flynn.
Yep.
And so now they're
and the Murder Twins.
Ugh. And the Murder Twins. Gross.
Yeah.
And they're kind of using them as leverage because they had basically like distracted Rune and Lydia with each other. And now they're like, I don't even know what their motive was. They were like, come back with us and we won't kill your friends.
Right.
Basically. Lydia, was it Lydia's fire that was around them?
So it was originally, well, what it sounds like from part 3 when she's talking about it sounds like it was the Autumn King's fire originally, but when the fire ring goes down, that was Lydia that was able to control it to make it go away of what had been around her friends after the kings are dead.
Okay, because I was like kind of confused.
Which was funny because I looked and I did have that tab from the first read as being weird. Yeah. Because Morven looks surprised.
He's like, why did that happen?
Yeah. So I did I didn't know it was Lydia at the time, but I did tab it. It's like, that was weird.
Yes, it was really weird. The whole interaction, I did not expect it to go down the way that it did.
Well, and then it went so quick of Rune killing the Autumn King and then Bryce killing Morven.
Yeah. Yes.
It went so fast.
It was so fast.
And now all of a sudden, like all her friends are bowing to her as
as literally queen
of Velbarn and Avalon Faye.
Yes. It was so fast and now she's at the top. I loved Rune's kind of distinction in his mind about why he had the vision or the oracle say what they said to him.
Yes.
And that it wasn't going to die because he wasn't have kids or he was going to die. It's because he's giving up the throne for Bryce.
Right.
Long live the queen.
I know. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
Yay.
The entire time I was reading that section, I was just like kicking and giggling my feet. Giggling and
Giggling my feet.
giggling and kicking my feet.
Yep.
I loved that scene so much. I think that was my favorite scene in the entire book.
Yeah, that was cool. And it's funny because it almost felt like a midway stop point then when all the magic comes back to Avalon and it's all green and luscious again and there's magic and
I know.
whatever and everything's all happy and everybody's like, well, this isn't what I was expecting, because that's right when Ethan comes up, right?
Yes.
So with that, let's go all the way back to the beginning of part 2.
What's going on?
Let's talk about our friends
Ethan?
in the other part of the world.
Oh,
so Ethan,
my gosh,
after killing Sigrid
yeah,
is distraught and he does not know what to do with himself.
He needs to correct his actions.
And so he goes straight to the House of Flame and Shadow.
I loved that imagery of him talking about going down to that door.
Yes.
And Jessica goes, well, that's one way to knock.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Fucking Ethan.
I know.
Also, though, the fact that the password for Jessica's computer, or like the second computer, was still Jelly Jubilee.
That was so cute. She goes, I did not choose that.
It was cute. It was really cute. But
oh my gosh. So when Ethan shows up, he's basically like, you need to help me because I need to find a necromancer. And she's kind of like, well, what are you going to do for me?
Right.
And so she makes him her assistant. Yes.
You better work, bitch.
You better work. You better work, bitch. Oh my gosh. And he accepted it really easily. Which
I mean, fair. At that, he feels like he doesn't have any other options, so he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I got to do."
Yeah, it was just,
which is fine. But he does. We learned a lot more about Jessica during that time because we know it's Jessica who gave the magic to the books to defend themselves in the first place.
Yep.
And we find out about Apollyon's curse on Jessica to be unaging until she showed him the true power of the books, which I don't think got closed out during this novel at all. Even by the end, I don't think that was closed out. So I still think there is a little bit of question of what is in the books that was so important to maintain, and why does the Prince of Hell want it?
But it doesn't make sense on why he would want to know. She said that her spells are in there, but she wasn't a witch at that point. So,
but she was a priestess in charge of important books for the human race from before the time that the Styrian Bales came there. And also we know that's a time when the House of Many Waters was interacting, or whatever, all of the Ocean Queen and her friends are interacting with the humans on Earth also. And so I more questions what's in the books that's so important that people want to know, rather than why does Apollyon want to know it, because I'm assuming he realizes there's important information of some sort.
Right.
Maybe about the creation of worlds, or maybe about magic or whatever.
Right.
But there's something in there that isn't anywhere else. And clearly something that Jessica doesn't trust Apollyon with.
Right.
Because we also kind of know that even though Adis loved Thea, like, she's not all good either. And so, yeah, we trusted the Princess of Hell enough to help us in this fight.
Yeah.
But do we actually trust them overall? Not really.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this is supposed to show us too, is that there's still other stuff going on with Apollyon that we're not privy to. And I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely made me question as well. Well, and then the Asteri want the knowledge gone too. And that's why we don't want them knowing about the books. So, yeah, I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of information that we learned from Jessica and about Jessica. And I thought it was really interesting that, I almost said Connor, that Ethan was the one that she was giving all this information to. Like, she doesn't know him very well. And why didn't she give all this information to Bryce? Somebody that she clearly just loves and respects and adores so much.
Because it wasn't the time. I think
Yeah.
that some of it is she knew that Bryce had her own journey that she needed to get on. And at that time, what had happened to Jessica didn't really impact anything.
I guess, yeah. I can definitely see that. And now it's just starting to.
Right. And I think it's really only at this point that Bryce is even starting to have any trust for any of the princes of hell.
Yeah.
And so, actually, now that I think about it, so Apollyon cursed her for not sharing the information in this books.
Right.
But her and Adis were meeting up in the end of HOSAP, remember? That's how that book ended. Mm-hmm. So it's not all princes of hell. That's I kind of forgot about that until we're talking about it right now. Mm-hmm. That makes an interesting circle for Jessica, that she's scheming with some of them still, even though they were the ones who cursed her. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason that she's friends with Adis is because along the way, after Apollyon had cursed her, Adis was curious on why. And so he came and he was like talking to her, and he realized like, oh, like she's got some secrets that I might want later. She might have like some power I might want later. And she tells Ethan that that's why they became friends. And I think it was just because they were friendly that he would come and visit her.
Gotcha.
But it's funny because so we know that she's at least 15,000 years old.
Yeah. Never aging.
Never aging. But we also know that Amryn is over 15,000 years old. I think they're the oldest two people that we know in this universe.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, besides some of the other creatures or gods or things that we've, have been pulled in. But yeah.
Right. So I just found it interesting. Yeah.
Or she was one of the oldest ones.
Real. Oh
we'll get there later.
Yes.
Yeah, what else do we find out kind of in all of that piece with Jessica, though? We find out or confirm that the Asteri curated the Fender line.
Yep, we do find that out.
Yeah, and then finally Hypaxia comes to the House of Flame and Shadow. She defects because the queens have basically kicked her out. Or the queens, why do I keep calling that the witches? The witches have officially kicked her out.
And in order to not sacrifice her life to them, she was like, I have to defect over to the Flame and Shadow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then she ends up being the necromancer that Jessica wants anyway. And so everything is just working out very smoothly for Jessica.
It is. Yep. She really was having the pieces fall into place on that one.
She was.
But poor Ethan, man, that does not go how he expects. So Hypaxia tries to bring him sort of back to life through the necromancy. And
7 hours and 7 minutes.
And instead she becomes a reaper.
Yes. Sigrid is now a freaking reaper.
Yeah.
And who intercepts that?
That was the Underking, right?
Yeah, he was like, well, she was kind of in the place of no man's land, so.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he totally skirted over there.
Yeah, but I thought it was so lame too that then Hypaxia, even after this has happened, she's like, oh, well, necromancy can lead her to that threshold. It can haul her back again. I'm like, this already failed once. You really think you need to try this again?
Yeah.
Like, we need Sophie's body. We need to raise Sophie's body so we can get the lightning so that we can fix Sigrid's body. I'm like,
I could even just see Jessica sitting behind them just rolling her eyes. Like, you guys, shut up.
I hated that
whole
plot line, to be honest.
Like, okay, the whole Ethan has to raise Sigrid and then it doesn't work and he has to try again. And he's going to try all these different ways to do it. Like, I just thought it was so dumb the entire time.
And because all of these pieces feel like they are really, honestly, only mattering for the wolves.
Yeah, right.
That's the other thing is it feels like what everyone else is working on for the rest of this book is for the whole world. And this is just for the wolves. And I mean, I guess how they're interacting with the humans, but still.
Yeah. And even so, Sigrid has been in a tank for how many years? Like, yeah, she might have this alpha quality about her, but that doesn't mean she's gonna automatically want to be a leader
Yeah.
or even be a good one.
Nature, nurture, man. She's missing all of the nurture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so the fact that he's trying to raise her so hard for something that he doesn't even know is going to be good for them, it's like he's really just doing it for his own guilt.
He is 100% doing it to try and relieve his own guilt.
Yeah.
Instead of just stepping up and doing it himself, which he ends up having to do anyways, but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we basically, that's basically where it ends. So they have to go find Sophie's body at Avalon, and then they go to Avalon and they meet up with.
Yeah,
Bryce
now we
and
finally got almost everybody all together at that point.
Exactly. And that's like the end of part two.
Yeah.
A lot more information that we learned.
Yeah. More good stuff. Obviously more coming to finish part 3 of A House of Flame and Shadow.
Yes.
So join us next time as we close this out and then hopefully talk about some of our theories for the next ACOTAR coming out too.
See you next time.